The house was on its last legs, barely standing, like it had smoked 3 packs a day and chased it with cheap whiskey every single day for decades. Paint peeled off like bad sunburn, flaking away in the wind. The porch sagged worse than Elmo after a weekend bender, creaking with every step. And the neighbourhood? Let's just say even the stray cats packed heat, always on edge. It was the kind of place where opportunity went to die and crackheads went to party, a forgotten corner of the city. But hey, it was free, a real estate miracle in this economy. Elmo's grandma, bless her shriveled little heart, had finally kicked the bucket, leaving behind memories and chaos. Left the two stooges, Elmo and Brant, this charming fixer-upper in her will, a true test of their handyman skills, along with a dustpan full of unpaid bills and a dog that looked like it had lost a fight with a lawnmower, adding to their list of problems. The bills were stacked high, a mountain of debt that seemed insurmountable. But Elmo and Brant, despite their flaws, were determined to turn this roach motel into something with curb appeal. Elmo, a walking midlife crisis with a receding hairline and expanding gut, had the DIY skills of a drunk toddler.
Hey, I resent that. I can at least hold a hammer, sort of.
Brant, sporting a ponytail that screamed failed artist, thought work was a 4-letter word.
Work? You mean that thing other people do?
Together, they were a recipe for disaster, a comedy of errors waiting to happen. The dog, a mangy mutt they named Lucky, mostly because he was lucky to still be breathing, sniffed suspiciously at their feet. He was a walking carpet of fleas and bad decisions, probably the only creature on Earth who thought this house was an upgrade. Living conditions were, to put it mildly, cramped. The apartment was a maze of clutter, with barely enough room to move around. Elmo and Brant bickered over everything. It seemed like every little thing was a potential argument waiting to happen. Whose turn it was to take out the overflowing trash, which, let's be honest, wasn't happening. The trash can was always full, a silent witness to their ongoing disputes. Who ate the last stale tortilla chip? Even the smallest, most insignificant things could spark a heated debate. Whose snoring was louder, it was a tie. The noise levels in the apartment were a constant source of irritation. Every day was a delicate dance on each other's last nerve. The tension was palpable, and it felt like a ticking time bomb.
Brant, did you seriously eat the last chip? The accusations flew back and forth like clockwork.
Oh, come on, Elmo, it was practically dust. The defensiveness was just as predictable.
Lucky, meanwhile, just tried to stay out of the line of fire. The poor dog had no idea what was going on most of the time, which was hard, considering he was usually the one being yelled at for begging for scraps. He just wanted a little bit of peace and maybe a treat or two, or shedding on the stained couch, or breathing too loudly. It seemed like no matter what he did, it was never right.
Woof, can't a dog catch a break around here? Lucky's frustration was evident, even if he couldn't voice it.
Being a dog in this house was a full-time job with no pay and even less appreciation. The chaos was unending, and Lucky was just trying to survive each day. Section 4, from sarcasm to shoving, a love story.
You know, Elmo, for a guy who claims to be handy, you sure have a knack for breaking things.
Oh yeah? Well, at least I have a job, Picasso. Unlike some people who think painting their toenails counts as exploring their artistic side.
The air crackled with tension. Their arguments were a delicate ballet of insults and passive-aggressive jabs. They were like an old married couple, one that constantly threatened to smother each other with throw pillows. Section 5, the dog days of Elmo and Brant.
Lucky, poor soul, bore the brunt of their frustrations. One minute they were tripping over him, the next they were yelling at him for being underfoot. He was their scapegoat, their emotional punching bag, a furry, 4-legged representation of all their problems.
It's your fault the house is a mess, Lucky.
Yeah, if you weren't so damn useless, we wouldn't be stuck here.
Lucky would just whimper and slink away, wondering what he did to deserve this.
Section 6, Stuck With You, a bromance forged in chaos. But here's the thing about shared misery. It has a way of bringing people together, or at least making them realize they're stuck with each other. It's in these moments of chaos and confusion that true bonds are formed and friendships are tested. When everything seems to be falling apart, sometimes the only thing holding you together is the person sitting next to you. One particularly bad day, after a pipe burst and flooded the kitchen, Elmo's fault, obviously, they found themselves sitting on the curb, watching the sunset over the dumpster fire that was their lives. It was one of those moments where you just have to laugh at the absurdity of it all. The kind of day where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And yet, there they were, finding solace in each other's company.
Lucky, bless his little cotton socks, snuggled up between them, licking Elmo's hand with surprising enthusiasm, or maybe he was just after the crumbs of that donut Elmo had been hoarding. Lucky had a way of making even the worst days a little bit better. His innocent affection was a reminder that sometimes the simplest things can bring the most comfort.
And for a brief moment they laughed, a genuine shared laugh. Because what else could they do? In the midst of all the chaos, that laughter was a lifeline. It was a reminder that no matter how bad things got, they still had each other. And sometimes that was enough. They were Elmo and Brant, and this was their life now, a chaotic, dysfunctional, hilarious mess. And they wouldn't have it any other way. Through all the ups and downs, the disasters and the small victories, they had each other. And in the end, that made all the difference. Their bromance, forged in the fires of chaos, was unbreakable.